Wynn Resorts will pay $130 million to federal authorities as part of a settlement for illegal practices to attract high rollers. The Department of Justice says that Wynn Las Vegas used unlicensed businesses to transfer money from out of the country to bring in foreign gamblers. The DOJ says these practices allowed gamblers to evade American laws. To avoid prosecution, Wynn Las Vegas admitted to the unlicensed money transfers and agreed to forfeit more than $130 million. In a statement to federal officials, the resort says this money was not paid as a fine and that the findings in the investigation did not amount to money laundering. Wynn says it has since severed ties with all people and businesses involved.
There are moments in the life of a city when a single sentence changes everything. When a leader steps forward and draws a line so clearly that it forces everyone to stop, look around, and realize the world they knew is gone. In Las Vegas, that moment came when Wynn CEO Craig Billings said out loud what many casino executives had whispered privately for years. Vegas is no longer for budget travelers. And with those words, the neon heart of America's most famous playground skipped a beat. Because this wasn't a slogan, it wasn't a marketing line. It was a declaration, a turning point, a signal that the Las Vegas millions of Americans grew up loving. The Vegas of cheap rooms, cheap buffets, cheap thrills, and the irresistible promise that anyone from anywhere could feel like a high roller for a weekend, was slowly fading into the desert. This is the story of how one city, built on affordability and fantasy, is now pricing out the very people who made it legendary. For decades, Las Vegas was America's escape hatch. A place where a middle-class family from Ohio could scrape together a few $100s and still feel like royalty. You could land at McCarran Airport before it became Harry Reid International, step off the plane, and instantly feel the electricity of a city that lived for the underdog. Rooms for $29, buffets for $7.99, free parking, loose slots, a show or two you could actually afford. Vegas didn't demand much from you. Just come, have fun, take a chance, and maybe, just maybe, go home with enough stories to last a lifetime. For Americans and Canadians alike, it felt like a place where the doors were open to everyone. But somewhere along the way, the sands shifted. The promise changed. And the price of admission rose so quietly that by the time most people noticed, it was already too late. It began with resort fees, those hidden charges that appeared out of nowhere, adding $30, then $40, then $50 a night to hotel bills. Then came paid parking, once unthinkable on the Strip. Families who drove in from Arizona or California suddenly found themselves paying $18 a day just to leave their car in a garage. The iconic cheap buffets, beloved by generations, disappeared one by one, replaced with celebrity chef restaurants where two people could easily drop more than $200 without even realizing it. Room rates climbed. Show tickets skyrocketed. Even a simple day on the Strip, gelato, a drink, a rideshare back to the hotel, felt like it had doubled in cost. And all along, the big players insisted this was simply the new reality. But when Craig Billings finally put it into words, it became undeniable. Wynn wasn't just raising prices. Wynn was signaling a cultural shift that would ripple through every casino, every restaurant, every show, every inch of the Strip. He wasn't talking about luxury as a bonus. He was talking about luxury as the future of Las Vegas. Because behind the scenes, Vegas had changed who it was courting. It wasn't just after the average traveler anymore. It wanted high rollers from New York and Toronto, wealthy tourists from Asia and the Middle East, convention executives ready to pay premium rates, international spenders who thought nothing of dropping 10 grand in a single night. Somewhere in that pursuit of profit, the city began turning its back on the lower and middle-class visitors who had built the foundation that all of this luxury stood on. The economics tell their own story. Inflation pushed up the cost of everything: food, construction, wages, utilities. Labor contracts grew more expensive. Redevelopments demanded billions. Corporate mergers and consolidations reshaped the Strip's hierarchy. MGM, Caesars, Wynn, Las Vegas. Sans, these giants weren't thinking about $30 hotel rooms. They were thinking about multi-billion-dollar projects like the MSG Sphere, the Formula One Grand Prix, the new convention expansions, the next luxury tower, the next elite experience. And while all of that glittered on the surface, regular Americans who used to save up for a Vegas weekend realized the math no longer worked. The moment that truly captured the shift came during a quarterly earnings call. It was calm, measured, professional, yet stunning. Craig Billings didn't shy away from the truth. He didn't soften the blow. He essentially said that the Wynn business model didn't revolve around budget-conscious travelers, and that the city itself was moving in that direction. For industry insiders, it was confirmation of a trend that had been building for years. For everyone else, especially people who loved Vegas for its accessibility, it felt like a punch to the chest. Because this wasn't just Wynn speaking for Wynn. This was Wynn speaking for the new Las Vegas. A Las Vegas that increasingly sees budget travelers not as the backbone, but as the past. You can feel the shift in every corner of the Strip. Step into a casino on a Saturday night and you'll notice the table minimums have crept up. What used to be a $5 blackjack table became $10, then $15, then $25, and good luck finding anything lower during prime hours. The cheap lounges have turned into craft cocktail bars. Late-night deals are gone. Even attractions once meant for families are now priced like upscale experiences. This new Vegas doesn't apologize for it. It celebrates it. Executives point to numbers that make Wall Street cheer. Resort profits are at record levels. High-end restaurants are packed. Suites are booked months in advance. Money is flowing like champagne at a private Wynn gala. For the corporations, the strategy is working better than they ever imagined. But for millions of ordinary Americans and Canadians, the emotional response is very different. There are people who remember celebrating anniversaries at the Mirage or Luxor on a budget. People who remember flying in from Vancouver or Detroit on a cheap weekend package. People who remember stretching a few $100s into days of fun. Now, those same travelers stare at hotel prices that look like mortgage payments and ask, when did Vegas stop being for people like us? You hear it in online forums. You hear it in airport terminals. You hear it in the voices of longtime visitors who say they feel unwelcome in the very city they helped make rich. Some feel betrayed. Others feel simply priced out. And many feel a deep sadness, a sense that the spirit of Vegas, the Vegas that welcomed everyone, is slipping away. But to understand why this shift happened, you have to look at the forces pushing the city forward. After the pandemic, Vegas faced enormous pressure. Labor shortages, skyrocketing costs, construction delays, tight margins, corporate debt, a global tourism industry that was changing faster than anyone expected. The Strip had to reinvent itself, not just to survive, but to compete against global luxury destinations like Dubai, Singapore, and Macau. So the corporations leaned into the one advantage Vegas has always had: the promise of spectacle. They didn't just rebuild, they reimagined. Multi-billion-dollar resorts like Resorts World emerged. The Formula One Grand Prix came roaring into town, bringing international money with it. Allegiant Stadium transformed the city into a sports capital. U2 opened the Sphere with a show that looked like the future. Every step pushed Vegas closer to a luxury-driven identity. And when you stand in the middle of the Strip at night now, you can feel the transformation. The neon still glows. The music still thumps. The crowds still surge. But the energy has changed. The spontaneity is fading. The raw, unpredictable, messy charm that once defined the city is being replaced by curated elegance and premium experiences. There's a growing debate, a battle between nostalgia and progress. Some argue Vegas is finally becoming the world-class destination it always aspired to be. Others believe the city is losing its soul, forgetting the people who kept it alive through recessions, downturns, and even the darkest days of the pandemic. But the truth is more complicated. Las Vegas is chasing sustainability, profitability, and long-term stability. CEOs believe the future lies in attracting wealthier customers who can spend more per trip. They see luxury not as a privilege but as a strategy. Yet the moral question lingers in the background like a quiet, haunting melody. What happens to a city built by ordinary people when it decides it no longer needs them? The consequences reach far beyond the casinos. Airlines adjust flight prices based on demand for premium travelers. Hotels raise rates in lockstep. Restaurants follow suit. Entertainment costs rise. The ripple effect spreads across the entire travel ecosystem, from taxis to tours to retail shops. Ordinary tourists, the ones who once gave Vegas its heartbeat, are slowly being squeezed out. And still, the city moves forward. In the end, Craig Billings didn't just draw a line for Wynn. He drew a line for all of Las Vegas. He voiced the shift openly, signaling a new era where the city no longer chases every traveler, only the ones who can afford its future. But as the corporations celebrate record profits and luxury towers rise higher into the desert sky, another question grows louder. What is the cost of leaving millions behind? Las Vegas stands at a crossroads. On one side is a glittering future built on high-end tourism, premium events, and billion-dollar attractions. On the other is a legacy, the memories, the traditions, the simple joy of a city where anyone could feel like someone. The future of Vegas may be richer, more polished, more extravagant than ever. But it may also be smaller in spirit, narrower in who it welcomes, and more distant from the city that captured America's imagination for generations.